The cursor blinks. It pulses with a steady, almost mocking rhythm on the blank page. You have a deadline, a very important one. The report is due by the end of the day, and your entire focus should be dedicated to this singular, critical task. You've cleared your desk, poured a fresh cup of coffee, and told yourself that this time you will be a machine of pure productivity. You are ready to dive deep into the work, to wrestle with the data, and to emerge victorious with a finished document. The intention is there, solid and clear in your mind, a beacon of professional responsibility guiding your actions. It feels simple enough, a straight line from start to finish. But then, it begins. A notification silently slides onto your phone screen. It's just a news alert, something about a minor political development halfway across the world. It's irrelevant to your life, and certainly to your report. Yet your hand moves almost of its own accord. You tell yourself it will only take a second. That 1 second stretches into a minute, then 5, as you skim the article. This brief excursion then reminds you of an email you forgot to send. You quickly switch to your inbox, but there, a new message from a colleague awaits, containing a link to a funny video. The temptation is too strong to resist. Suddenly, 20 minutes have vanished into the digital ether. A faint wave of anxiety washes over you. You shake your head, close the tabs, and turn back to the blinking cursor. But now, your mind has been stirred. The quiet focus you started with is gone, replaced by a low hum of mental chatter. You start thinking about the email you just sent, wondering if the tone was right. You remember a chore you need to do at home. Then a flicker of self-doubt appears. I'm so bad at staying focused, you think. Why can't I just get this done? I'm going to fail. This internal monologue is far more insidious than any external notification. The battle is no longer just with the phone or the inbox. It has moved inside. The initial distraction from the outside world has unlocked a Pandora's box of internal distractions, worries, anxieties, and self-criticism. The blinking cursor now seems to judge you, each pulse a reminder of your own perceived inadequacy and the time you have squandered. The report, which seemed so manageable an hour ago, now feels like an insurmountable mountain. This scenario, in one form or another, is the daily reality for millions. It is the quiet internal war we fight against the twin forces of external interruption and our own sabotaging minds. Our struggle for focus is a war fought on two distinct but interconnected fronts. The first front is the external world, a relentless barrage of pings, dings, and notifications. These are the obvious enemies of concentration. Your phone buzzes with a social media update. An email lands in your inbox with an urgent-sounding but ultimately trivial subject line. A colleague stops by your desk for a quick question that spirals into a 20-minute conversation. Each of these interruptions acts like a cognitive crowbar, prying your attention away from the task at hand. They break your mental flow and force your brain to switch contexts, a process that is never seamless or without cost. The second front is far more subtle and often more damaging. It is the internal battle against our own thoughts. This is the war against mental chatter, self-doubt, and the endless stream of consciousness that runs through our minds. You might be deep in a task, only to have your brain suddenly remind you of an awkward conversation from last week. Or perhaps a wave of anxiety about a future event washes over you, completely derailing your present focus. These internal distractions are not triggered by a notification, but bubble up from within, fueled by our own fears, insecurities, and unresolved concerns. They are phantom enemies, harder to pinpoint and far more difficult to silence than a buzzing phone. The true danger lies in how these two fronts collaborate against us. An external distraction often serves as the trigger for an internal spiral. That single, seemingly harmless notification on your phone doesn't just steal 5 minutes of your time. It breaks your concentration, and in that fractured moment, your mind is vulnerable. The internal chatter seizes the opportunity to rush in. The brief interruption to check a text message can easily lead to a prolonged period of worrying about the sender's tone, which then leads to broader feelings of social anxiety, all while your important work sits waiting. The external ping opens the gate, and the internal echoes flood the city of your mind. This two-front war exacts a heavy toll on our lives and our work. it's not just about lost productivity or missed deadlines. It's about the quality of our output and the state of our mental well-being. Work produced in a state of constant distraction is often shallow, riddled with errors, and lacking in true insight. More importantly, a mind that is constantly pulled between external alerts and internal anxieties is a mind in a state of chronic stress. This constant cognitive friction leaves us feeling exhausted, unfulfilled, and perpetually behind, unable to give our full, undivided attention to the things that truly matter. Modern technology has undeniably brought incredible benefits to our lives, connecting us and providing access to information on an unprecedented scale. We carry supercomputers in our pockets, capable of navigating cities, translating languages, and accessing the sum of human knowledge. These tools promise efficiency and empowerment, and in many ways, they deliver on that promise. They allow for flexible work arrangements, instant communication across continents, and a level of convenience that would have been unimaginable just a few decades ago. We can manage our finances, order groceries, and connect with loved ones, all with a few simple taps on a screen. This is the bright, shiny side of the digital age. However, this same technology has a darker, more insidious side. It has been engineered to be our greatest source of distraction. The platforms and applications we use daily are not neutral tools. They are products designed within an attention economy. Their primary goal is to capture and hold as much of your time and focus as possible, because your attention is the commodity they sell to advertisers. Every notification, every infinite scroll, every auto-playing video is a carefully crafted hook designed by teams of engineers and psychologists to exploit the reward-seeking pathways in your brain. The red dot on an icon is not a friendly reminder. It is a calculated stimulus designed to create a sense of urgency and a fear of missing out. This digital deluge has fundamentally rewired our relationship with boredom and solitude. In the past, moments of downtime, waiting in line, riding a bus, or simply sitting alone with our thoughts were natural parts of the day. These were moments where our minds could wander, process information, and engage in creative thought. Today, these pockets of time have been almost entirely colonized by the smartphone. The slightest hint of boredom is immediately quelled by a quick scroll through a social media feed or a few rounds of a mobile game. We have become uncomfortable with the quiet stillness of our own minds, constantly seeking the next small hit of digital stimulation to fill the void. The consequence of this constant connectivity is a state of perpetual semi-distraction. We are rarely ever fully present in the moment, whether at work or in our personal lives. During a meeting, we are half listening while surreptitiously checking emails under the table. During dinner with family, our minds are partially occupied by the conversation and partially by the phantom buzz of the phone in our pocket. This fractured attention prevents us from engaging deeply with our work, our relationships, and even our own inner lives. We exist in a shallow state, skimming the surface of everything but never truly diving in, all thanks to the powerful, ever-present allure of the digital world we've embraced. To understand why we are so susceptible to distraction, we must look at the wiring of our own brains. Our cognitive architecture evolved in a very different world, one where survival depended on being highly sensitive to new stimuli. For our ancient ancestors roaming the savannah, the ability to quickly shift attention from a mundane task, like gathering berries, to a sudden, unexpected sound, a rustle in the grass, was a matter of life and death. That rustle could be a predator. This evolutionary pressure hardwired our brains with a powerful novelty bias, a deep-seated attraction to anything new and unexpected in our environment. Our minds are programmed to prioritize the novel over the familiar. This ancient survival mechanism is a profound liability in the modern knowledge economy. Your brain doesn't differentiate between the rustle of a predator and the ping of a new email. To your primitive neural circuits, both are novel stimuli that demand immediate attention. When you are trying to focus on a complex report, that task is familiar and requires sustained effort. The notification that pops up on your screen, however, is new and promises a quick, easy hit of information. Your brain's novelty bias instinctively pulls you toward the notification, hijacking your focus against your better judgment. You are fighting millions of years of evolutionary programming every time you try to ignore a distraction. Furthermore, the act of succumbing to these distractions triggers a chemical reward in our brains. When you check your phone and see a new like on a photo or read a juicy piece of gossip, your brain releases a small amount of dopamine. This is the same neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward, involved in everything from eating delicious food to receiving a compliment. Technology companies have expertly weaponized this dopamine loop. They've created systems of variable rewards, like the unpredictable nature of a social media feed, that keep us coming back for more, turning our devices into virtual slot machines that dispense tiny, addictive bursts of pleasure at the cost of our focus. This constant context switching comes at a significant cognitive price, a phenomenon known as attention residue. When you switch from a primary task, like writing your report, to a secondary task, like answering an email, your mind doesn't make a clean break. For several minutes after you return to the report, a part of your attention, a residue, remains stuck on the email you just dealt with. This residue clogs your cognitive capacity, making it harder to think clearly and deeply. The more you switch, the more residue builds up, until your brain is operating at a fraction of its potential, mired in the mental fog of a dozen unfinished thoughts. Winning the war against distraction requires a deliberate strategy, starting with the external front. You cannot hope to achieve deep concentration if your environment is constantly conspiring against you. The first and most crucial step is to aggressively curate your digital world. This means, taking back control from the apps and platforms designed to steal your attention. Go through your phone and computer and turn off all non-essential notifications. You really do not need an audible alert or a banner on your screen every time someone likes your post or a new video is uploaded. Schedule specific times to check email and social media, rather than letting them interrupt you at will. The next step is to redesign your physical workspace to signal to your brain that it's time to focus. This means creating an environment that is as free from potential interruptions as possible. If you work in an open office, noise-canceling headphones are not a luxury. They are a necessity. They serve the dual purpose of blocking out auditory distractions and signaling to your colleagues that you are in a state of deep work and should not be disturbed. Keep your desk clear of anything not related to the task at hand. Most importantly, when it's time to concentrate, your phone should not be on your desk. Put it in a drawer, in another room, or at the very least, turn it over and silence it completely. Time blocking is a powerful technique for structuring your day around focused work. Instead of a vague to-do list, schedule specific blocks of time in your calendar for your most important tasks. For example, you might block out 9 o'clock in the morning to 10:30 for work on Project X report. During this block, you do nothing else. No checking email, no quick phone calls, no social media. You treat this appointment with the same seriousness as a meeting with your boss. This method protects your time from the encroachment of smaller, less important tasks and forces you to dedicate meaningful, uninterrupted periods to the work that truly matters. Finally, embrace the power of strategic disconnection. It is not necessary or even healthy to be reachable at all times. Establish clear boundaries for your availability. This might mean having an end-of-workday ritual where you shut down your computer and put away your work phone, signaling to yourself and others that your professional day is over. It could also mean scheduling regular periods of digital detox, perhaps a few hours every evening or one full day on the weekend where you intentionally stay away from screens. These periods of disconnection allow your brain to rest, recharge, and recover from the constant onslaught of digital stimuli, making your periods of focused work more effective. Taming the external world is only half the battle. To truly win, you must also learn to manage the internal front, the relentless chatter of your own mind. This begins with the practice of mindfulness and metacognition, which is simply the act of thinking about your own thoughts. Instead of being swept away by every worry or random idea that pops into your head, learn to observe your thoughts from a distance, without judgment. When you feel your mind starting to drift from your work, simply acknowledge it. There's that worry about the presentation again, you can say to yourself. By naming the thought, you create a space between you and it, reducing its power over your attention. Meditation is one of the most effective training regimens for strengthening this mental muscle. Even just 10 minutes of daily meditation can have a profound impact on your ability to control your focus. The practice is simple. Sit quietly and pay attention to your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, your task is not to get frustrated, but to gently and kindly guide your attention back to your breath. Each time you do this, you are performing a mental repetition, a bicep curl for your attention span. Over time, this practice makes you better at noticing when you're distracted and more skilled at redirecting your focus back to where you want it to be. Another powerful technique for managing internal distractions, especially those rooted in anxiety and overwhelm, is the brain dump. When your mind feels cluttered with to-dos, worries, and unresolved issues, take out a piece of paper and write everything down. Get it all out of your head and onto the page. This act of externalizing your thoughts frees up valuable cognitive resources. Your brain no longer has to spend energy trying to remember everything. Once it's written down, you can organize it, prioritize it, and make a plan. This simple process can turn a chaotic internal storm into a manageable, actionable list, calming your mind and clearing the way for focus. Finally, practice self-compassion. Beating yourself up for getting distracted is counterproductive. It only adds another layer of negative internal chatter to the mix, making it even harder to refocus. Remember that your brain is wired to be distractible. It's not a personal failing. When you find your mind has wandered, treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. Gently acknowledge the distraction and then calmly redirect your attention back to your task. This compassionate approach reduces the stress and anxiety associated with a loss of focus, making it easier and quicker to get back on track and sustain your concentration over the long term. The antidote to a life of fractured attention is the pursuit of deep work. This is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It's a skill that allows you to quickly master complicated information and produce better results in less time. Deep work is not about working longer hours. It's about maximizing the intensity of your focus during the hours you do work. It is the state in which you produce your most valuable, creative, and meaningful output. In an increasingly distracted world, the ability to engage in deep work is becoming both rarer and more economically valuable. It is a superpower for the 21st century. Engaging in deep work requires a fundamental shift in your mindset. You must move from a culture of busyness as a proxy for productivity to one that values tangible, high-quality results. This means rejecting the notion that being constantly connected and responsive is a sign of importance. Instead, you must come to see uninterrupted, focused time as the most sacred asset in your professional life. This requires the courage to be temporarily unavailable, to let non-urgent emails wait, and to protect your cognitive capital with the same ferocity that a company protects its financial capital. True productivity is not measured by the number of emails answered, but by the value of what you create. To cultivate a habit of deep work, you need to incorporate rituals and routines into your life. These rituals help transition your mind into a state of intense concentration. Your ritual could be as simple as clearing your desk, pouring a specific type of tea, and stating your intention for the work session out loud. Or it could be more elaborate, like taking a walk to think through a problem before you even sit down at your computer. The specific details of the ritual matter less than its consistency. A consistent pre-work ritual signals to your brain that the shallow, distracting world is being put aside, and it is time to go deep. The fruits of deep work extend far beyond professional success. A life structured around deep, meaningful engagement is a more satisfying one. The human brain is designed to solve problems and create things. When we spend our days in a state of shallow, distracted, busy work, we are left feeling drained and unfulfilled. In contrast, losing yourself in a challenging task, Entering a state of flow is one of the most profoundly rewarding human experiences. By reclaiming your attention and dedicating it to deep work, you are not just becoming more productive. You are crafting a life of greater purpose, meaning, and psychological richness. The journey to reclaim your focus from the clutches of distraction is not a one-time fix but a continuous practice. It is a path that requires patience, persistence, and above all, kindness toward yourself. You will have days where you successfully enter a state of deep focus and produce incredible work. You will also have days where you struggle, where your mind feels like a kite in a hurricane, pulled in every direction. The goal is not perfection, but progress. Celebrate the small victories. An hour of uninterrupted work, a morning without checking social media, a moment where you successfully redirected a wandering thought. These small wins build momentum and reinforce the new habits you are trying to build. Consistency is your greatest ally on this path. The brain loves habits, both good and bad. The more consistently you practice the strategies for managing distractions, the more automatic they will become. Making a habit of putting your phone in another room when you work, scheduling your time blocks every morning, and practicing a few minutes of mindfulness each day will, over time, rewire your neural pathways. What feels difficult and requires immense willpower at first will eventually become second nature. It is the steady, daily commitment to these practices that will transform your relationship with your work and your mind, creating lasting change rather than a temporary boost. Remember that you are in control. While technology is designed to be addictive and our brains are wired for distraction, we are not powerless. We have the ability to make conscious choices about how we interact with our tools and how we respond to our own thoughts. Every time you choose to ignore a notification, you are casting a vote for a more focused life. Every time you gently bring your attention back to the present moment, you are strengthening your mental resilience. This is the ultimate form of empowerment. Recognizing the forces working against your focus and deliberately choosing to act in service of your deeper goals and values. Ultimately, this battle for your attention is a battle for the quality of your life. The sum of your days is the sum of what you pay attention to. If your attention is constantly fractured and given away to trivialities, your life will feel shallow and chaotic. But if you can learn to direct your focus with intention, toward meaningful work, toward rich relationships, toward the beauty of the present moment, you will craft a life of depth, purpose, and profound satisfaction. The path forward is clear. It requires taking control, practicing consistently, and treating yourself with kindness as you learn to master the most valuable resource you will ever have: your own mind.